thought my marriage was unbreakable until one Friday night, a simple ghost, a truth.
I never imagined that a harmless Friday night hangout would unravel the one thing I believed was unshakable: my marriage. My name is Daniel. I'm 38, a father of two, and husband to Emily for 12 long, comfortable years. Our life was the kind people admired from a distance. A stable home in the suburbs, predictable routines, morning school runs, weekend grocery trips, and movie nights that always ended with Emily falling asleep halfway through. For me, that routine felt like security. I thought that was enough for love to survive. I never realized that routine could also hide the things we're too afraid to confront. That evening, our neighbors Sarah and Jack came over for what was supposed to be a simple board game night. Nothing dramatic, nothing unusual. Just some friendly competition and a few drinks to unwind after a long week. The kids were with their grandparents, and for the first time in ages, it felt like we were just adults again, not just parents. But halfway through the night, Jack grinned and suggested we add a grown-up twist to our game of charades, truth or dare. We all laughed. We were adults, after all. What damage could a silly game do? We were old friends, comfortable with each other. It sounded like a fun way to spice up the evening. The game started off lighthearted. Jack dared Emily to wear a ridiculous feathered hat from our Halloween box and dance across the living room. She twirled, laughing, her hair bouncing around her shoulders. That was Emily, radiant, carefree, bringing light into any room she walked into. She was the spontaneous one, the one who always reminded me not to take life so seriously. Then the truths began. I drew one. Sarah leaned forward with a mischievous smirk and asked, "Daniel, have you ever lied to Emily about something important?" I hesitated. Not because I carried some terrible secret, just because the question felt sharper than expected, like a pinprick in our cozy little bubble. I laughed it off, muttered something vague about hiding how much I spent on a new gadget, and everyone else laughed too. The tension eased, and for a moment everything felt normal again. But then Emily drew her slip, another truth. She held it for a moment, her fingers trembling almost imperceptibly, something only I would have noticed after 12 years together. The smile on her face didn't quite reach her eyes. She leaned toward me, her voice a low murmur meant only for my ears. "I've been keeping something from you. Something big." The air shifted instantly. The background noise of our friends laughing faded into a dull hum. My heart tripped over a beat. The room seemed to dim, the cozy warmth of the candles suddenly feeling cold. I whispered back, half joking, trying to keep the mood light, "Em, what are you talking about? Did you scratch the car again?" But her eyes weren't playful. They were shadowed, burdened, filled with a fear I had never seen on her face in all our years together. "Just promise you'll listen without judging," she murmured, her gaze locked on mine. And right then, the laughter, the clinking glasses, the glow of the candles, everything disappeared. It was just her and the truth that threatened to break the life we had so carefully built. She told me something from her early 20s, a time before we even met. A story she had buried so deep she'd convinced herself it no longer mattered. But it mattered. Oh, it mattered. Every word she spoke was careful, trembling, like she was peeling back a scar that had never fully healed. I stared at her, stunned, unable to comprehend that the woman I had shared a home with, a bed with, a life with, had lived an entire chapter that I knew nothing about. It was a story of mistakes, of a person I didn't recognize. The game continued around us, a distant, muffled sound. Sarah and Jack were oblivious, still caught up in the fun. But Emily and I were trapped in a silent storm, an invisible wall separating us from the rest of the world. The room felt too small, too tight. I couldn't breathe properly. Emily's hand brushed mine, a silent plea for understanding, a fragile touch that felt like it could shatter. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what to feel. Shock? Anger? Betrayal? All I knew was that the Emily sitting next to me was suddenly a stranger. We had to get out of there. I forced a smile that felt glued to my face, told our friends we needed a minute, that Emily wasn't feeling well. They nodded, concerned but unsuspecting. Once the living room door closed behind us, the weight of the moment pressed down on us. The silence in the hallway was deafening. Emily leaned against the wall, twisting her hands together, her gaze fixed on the floor. I didn't rush her. I couldn't. I just stood there, waiting, my own mind racing a million miles an hour. She began again slow, cautious, like each sentence was a step on thin ice. "It was a long time ago," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I was young, reckless. I made choices I regret every single day. I wasn't the person I am now, Daniel. I was lost. I didn't know how to stop. I didn't know how to tell anyone. I was so scared. I still am." Her voice cracked at the edges, raw with an ancient pain. For the first time since I'd met her, Emily looked fragile, not the strong, confident woman I knew, but someone broken by a past she couldn't escape. My stomach twisted into a tight knot. A part of me felt hurt, confused, even betrayed, that she could keep this from me for so long. But as I looked at her, something else stirred inside me. It wasn't anger. It was a strange, aching compassion. She wasn't telling me this to destroy us. She was telling me because the secret was destroying her, and she feared losing me more than anything. My voice came out hoarse. "Why now? After all this time, why now?" Her answer changed everything. "Because I can't live with this fear anymore," she said, finally looking up. Her eyes were filled with tears she had been holding back for years, maybe even a decade. "I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. I can't look at you and our beautiful children and feel like a fraud. If we're going to be real, if our love is real, then I have to stop hiding." And for one terrifying, clarifying moment, I saw the woman underneath the perfect surface I had fallen in love with. She was human, flawed, terrified, and she was desperately hoping I wouldn't walk away. In that moment, I realized our comfortable routine hadn't been security. It had been a hiding place. For both of us. The truth was out, raw and painful, but it was also a chance. A chance to build something real, not just something comfortable. The board game was over. The real game, the one for our future, had just begun, and I had no idea what the rules were. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever faced a moment that changed everything, you know how terrifying it can be. Please subscribe for more stories about life, love, and the messy truths in between.